Hello, Wastelanders. This is Overseer of Overseer's Logs, and welcome to Fall of Man Radio, Episode 4. Tonight we're going to talk about the basic needs. You'd think we'd talk about this first, but oh well. Right now, it's just me, the Overseer, but Prophet will be joining me a while later today, and hopefully some others as well. So, as most would know, the basic needs: food, water, shelter. But in the wasteland, things like that are harder to come by. So, how do you find it? Other than, of course, which is obvious by the picture, by the help of others, or via community. Before a community is formed, oftentimes you find, well, everyone's kind of on their own, doing their own thing. Every so often you'll get groups of people that work together to find, resources and whatnot. But a lot of the time you're kind of on your own. And, well, with the collapse of society, just going to your local grocery store ain't as easy as you might think. See, a lot of people will say, oh, I'll just go to Walmart. I'll go to my grocery store and I'll hold up there. I'll have food forever. Here's the thing. You and everyone else is going to do the exact same thing. And as a result, a lot of people are going to die. So, if you're the prepper type, you won't have much to worry about because you're already going to have lots of food, at least a couple weeks worth of food, before you have to go out and venture the wasteland to find more. If you're a hunter, you're also capable of finding your own food, especially if you live on property that allows you to go hunt. And at that point, there are no laws saying you can't hunt at certain seasons. You might still kind of abide by the seasonal trends just because you might have a better understanding of the animals that you're hunting and how they tend to breed and whatnot. But at the end of the day, survival comes first. So, hunting, gathering, of course, are options, especially if you're in a rural area. If you're in the suburbs or urban areas, it's a little bit more difficult. One moment, please. So if you're in the suburbs, you're generally pretty close to urban areas, and as such, you're pretty close to grocery stores, Walmarts, that kind of thing. Um, but it's my suggestion that you don't go to these places first thing. If you're not a prepper, then it's best to ration what you've got for a while. Try to get together with your neighbors or people you can trust and basically get all the food and especially the water together. Now, of course, shelter, you won't have too much to worry about at the beginning. However, eventually, you're going to get people who are going to try to break in, try to loot your stuff. So, obviously, if you don't have a means of self-defense, that means you have to get the hell out of there. Eventually. Assuming your community doesn't come together. If you're on your own, though, if you're truly on your own, you've got to go out into the chaos for whatever reason. Avoid areas with lots of people. Because I guarantee you, that's where all the trouble's gonna happen. And like I said, if you know people, if you have people you can trust, then get with those people immediately. Find a way to contact them. Presume that you're not gonna have internet. Presume that you're not gonna have even cell phone service. Might have to do it the old-fashioned way to contact people. But again, if you're on your own, top priority should be food, water, shelter. Food, water, shelter. Basic needs. 1 second. It's where the most difficult thing about doing this kind of thing is when you live with other people that don't really understand what you're doing. Uh, but yeah, I'm trying not to repeat myself too much, since I am waiting for some other people's opinions. If y'all have any opinions, any suggestions, feel free to tell me in the chat. Um, and of course, please leave a like, subscribe, all that stuff. And yeah, so what do we say? What do we do? Eventually, you're gonna want to get out of urban areas or suburban areas, even due to the dangers, if you will, of being in these areas, whether it be the people or the environment itself. Although there's a risk out in the wild too, of course. Now, once you're out there, you gotta take care of yourself. And you might not have a house around to do that. So you gotta figure out how to make your own shelter. If you got, camping supplies and stuff like tents and whatnot, definitely feel free to take that along with you. Rucksacks are very handy. In fact, at one of the events I've been to, the Omega events, part of the element of the game is that you ruck out. You go out onto the field for about 48 hours straight with bag full of all your stuff. Your food, your water, your camping supplies, your tent, whatever. And if you didn't bring a tent, you may do some other way. I remember one of my friends, Hijack, he made a tent out of tarps, basically, which is completely possible. I have a single person mountain tent, so I could potentially mount myself up next to a cliff if I wanted to, or on one if I wanted to, if I could figure out how to do it correctly. But otherwise, it's just a single person tent, so I've been using that. I've got a big tent too if I had a bunch of people, but presume you're not going to have a bunch of people. In fact, you kind of don't want to have that because it's more luggage you have to worry about. So, prep for one person. And of course, try to bring enough food to last you for the duration of your journey, or at least until you have a means to find more food. Same with water. If you know, in fact, one suggestion is to bring filters, some sort of filtration system, and some sort of, what was it? Some way of making sure that the water you're drinking isn't going to give you bacterial diseases and whatnot, especially if you're drinking from like a river or something like that, or a lake. You still have to clean that. Of course, the old-fashioned way is boil the water. If you're able to do that, which of course would require you to be able to make a fire. And assuming you don't have the camping supplies that would provide you with easy means of making fire, there's always the old-fashioned rubbing two sticks together way. But there's also, using flint and steel, using rock against sticks. Make sure you carve the sticks so that they're easy to burn. I believe you can use pine cones to help start a fire as well. Um, but all in all, you kind of want to have a fire starter system of some sort, because you got to keep warm out in the wasteland, especially during the winter, especially now. Um, but what else? What else we got? Of course, then there comes the matter of building permanent shelters and whatnot, because let's be honest, nobody wants to live in a tent for the rest of their lives if they can avoid it. Yes, you could basically take over an old building and fortify it and make it your own and stuff, but you can also build something from scratch. There are various other YouTube channels and stuff that go into bushcrafting and stuff like that, and making essentially entire homes out of just trees and bushes and the things around you. Of course, you have to have the right supplies to do that, like axes and stuff like that. Rope definitely helps. If you can make rope, that's even better. So, I mean, yeah, this isn't as entertaining because it's just me spouting everything you kind of need to know compared to having a friend on and discussing it. Um, but you know, I'm trying to make this work. So, yeah, permanent water supply is something you'll eventually want. Of course, making your own well is one of the things you can do, but you have to know where groundwater is so that you don't get nothing or something completely different or bad water per se. Um, because you have to presume that because of the collapse of society, nobody's maintaining the pumps. So therefore, the water treatment plants, the water systems, and all this stuff are offline and not being used. So that's when well water, that's when stream water, rain water, stuff like that comes into play. And of course, filtering and cleaning that out so that it is safe to drink. So, if you're going to establish yourself somewhere, make sure, like all civilizations have before us, to find a good source of water. A permanent source of water. Whether that be groundwater, stream, river, lake, whatever. Just not ocean. Don't drink the salt water. That's just bad for you. And it takes a whole lot longer to filter and clean out. Because salt is very dense, I guess would be the word for it. And then, of course, food, like I said, hunting, gathering, that kind of thing. You gotta learn how to cook some stuff. Let's be honest. Because, like I said, you can't just go to the gas station or to the Walmart down the street to find your food, because in all due likelihood, everybody's done it, and they've either all killed each other over it, or the whole thing is pretty much empty, and there's only scraps left. Now that's not to say you shouldn't eventually go to these places and see what you can find, but when you go to these places, always look for things that have long-term use. There's a lot of people that probably won't be thinking about the recycling aspect of living in the wasteland at the beginning, because they're just going to be like, oh my god, I'm going to panic and go find food and whatever I need right here and right now. We've seen it in real life recently with the virus pandemic. People prioritize really dumb stuff, and they end up kind of in a weird position later on because of it. So if you ever do have to go to those places, wait for some time to pass before you go. And then look for things that are going to last you. Because otherwise, you're wasting your time. Of course, I'm not saying don't grab whatever leftover food and water and stuff there might be. But make sure it's still safe. A lot of food will go bad eventually, especially if a place is shut down and you got, vegetables and meats and stuff that are not being frozen or watered or whatever properly anymore. They're gonna go bad eventually. So you have to make sure that if you're gonna grab stuff out of these places, that you're not grabbing stuff that's just gonna, make you sick or even kill you later. Hence why it's best to get things fresh. So, what is that? About 25 minutes so far. I'd say I've been making do at the time. Well, let's talk a little bit about the picture. So that picture right there, I believe, is Revelations 8 or 9 at Ballahack Airsoft. And that is at, I believe, the Ballahack Beach Club. So if you've ever watched Swamp Sniper and his videos, that's the owner of the field. He he goes out to these places during the events, and this is a place not too far away from the Merchandise Circus of Value. It's just a little bit north. Well, not north technically. It's like west of us, right in front of the lake. So there's a lake at the center of the field, and they are kind of south of it, and we are east of it, I believe. Pretty much right next to each other, though. But, yeah, the Ballahack Beach Club, which eventually became, the Hydrophilic Empire of Ballahackistan or something like that. They're run by a bunch of guys that put on really bad Russian accents and wear Hawaiian shirts like Boogaloo Boys and stuff like that. And basically, you pay them a couple in-game caps, and they let you in to swim in the pond, to eat and drink their food, for the rest of the day. So you pay a fee to get access, and then you can do whatever you want inside, basically. I mean, obviously you don't start crap inside, but that doesn't mean people don't. People always do. I know one of my friends, Captain America, he swam in the pond once. Full gear, too. It was crazy, mad lad. And I'd love for him to be able to tell you about it, but he ain't here right now. So, oh well. But, yeah, those guys are funny. We get along with them pretty well. We pretty much stay out of each other's way, actually. But, yeah, that picture there is, I think those guys had made some sort of stew, or not stew, but some sort of, like, chicken and beans chili type thing. And they were giving it out to people who were part of their little empire or whatever. It's very, very small empire, and they don't expand despite being an empire. It's weird, but whatever. But yeah, they were giving out food and stuff like that, and they provide, in a sense, shelter. And while that shelter isn't necessarily like a building that you can go inside of to get away from the weather or whatever, they provide shelter in the sense of like they provide protection from other wastelanders and whatnot. Similar to what we do, except like for us it kind of just happens that way, I guess. It's not like we're outright providing people with these things. I mean, we do provide food and water and other drinks and stuff like that, but we sell it. So, it's not quite the same. They basically have an entry fee. Of course, some people don't have to pay the entry fee. But yeah, so they're fun guys. We've never had a problem with them. We've had a problem with other horrible Russian accent guys in the past. We used to be set up in a town which has buildings with actual shelter and whatnot, and we got extorted by a Russian mafia. There, we ended up leaving, not before sending a guy with a grenade into their main base, but you know. They never knew who actually did it. That's the funniest part. But yeah, so that's actually when we decided to move to our current location, which is what used to be the Royal Blue Trading Company's location, which is right next to the pond. We used to be in the town, but because we got extorted, we decided, screw that, we'll leave and set up at a better location. We've been at the new location ever since. We talked about moving back into town a couple of times, but I don't know if we're ever going to commit to that. And then there is something else that I really would like Merchant here to talk about, which is that we've talked about the ambulance thing in the last episode, possibly getting an ambulance, but when I found potential, if you will, in getting a trailer, I guess, like one of those hitch trailers with the door on the side and the back kind of thing. They're a bit pricey, but it might actually be cheaper than buying the ambulance and have potentially more room. What I'm thinking we would probably do to it is, outside of doing aesthetic changes to the outside to make it look cool and Wasteland, Circuits Value themed and stuff like that, we would probably set up the inside to double as like a camping space, basically. Like we can stay in there, or Merchant can stay in there, that kind of thing, and overnight just close up the place, sleep in there. Have a bed that kind of like you can raise and lower from the wall is what I was thinking, because then you don't have to worry about bungeeing it down or moving it into a different location or whatever when you're driving with the thing. And then we'd have a table that does the same basic thing, and then we'd have some like folding chairs that we can bungee to the walls and whatnot, and then we'd have a bunch of shelves that we could have basically cabinets. We could build our own shelves and cabinets and stuff like that. So again, we can prevent things from falling all over the place whenever we're on the road. And we would be selling all our goods and stuff like that out of the back of that truck. Or not the truck, but the trailer. And then it's just a matter of, can we get permission to bring it onto the field to do that kind of thing, especially if we decide to wasteland it. So, you know, ideas. And that in and of itself is a form of shelter. Because like I said, we could set up a bed in a small living space in there. I've seen advertisements and stuff for stuff like that. Um, so it's not like it's not an option. Of course, when it comes to food and water, it's more of like a storage place for it. And I mean, we'd honestly mostly be using it for the shop. But yeah, so man, sorry about the noise. I really don't want this to be too short. And I really don't want to have to rely too much on the other Wastelanders to make this entertaining for y'all. Um, what else is there? What else is there? I mean, basic needs is, at the end of the day, basic needs. You should generally have a good idea of what I mean when I say that. Most people do. I mean, one thing's for sure, I was trying to find a cool picture for the background, and almost all of them were just charts. So I ended up finding this picture from the event, just because I guess it fit better. So, yeah. But, food, water, shelter. Food, water, shelter. Three most important things. Because let's be honest, you're probably not gonna have cable, you're not gonna have internet, you're not gonna have phone, any of that nonsense. You're probably barely gonna have plumbing and whatnot, so you gotta figure it out. Dig a hole when it comes to plumbing. So, yeah. But, I guess I'll branch out a little bit, speaking of plumbing and similar topics. Let's talk about energy sources. So, it would be presumed that most energy manufacturing plants of any type would probably be shut down. Sorry about that. Be that nuclear, hydro, solar, wind, coal, whatever. All probably gonna get shut down. All probably gonna deteriorate, and all probably gonna cause impressive and massive disasters of some sort. Especially hydroelectric and nuclear. Assuming the nuclear isn't properly shut down prior. But if everyone's in a panic, I'm really doubting that they're gonna properly shut things down. So, might be shit out of luck. So if you know how to gauge the range, if you will, of a meltdown effect for a nuclear plant in your area or whatnot, if you have nuclear plants, if you can figure that out ahead of time, that would be ideal. Because those are the areas you don't want to go for a long time. At least not without proper equipment, hazmat, that kind of thing. But, hold on one second, my mic is like falling. But, if you don't have to worry about that, then don't worry about that. But if you are not able to find out ahead of time, but you generally know that you have one in a certain area, then try to stay, I want to say, at least a couple 100 miles away, assuming it has melted down. And if you have to go in there, wear proper equipment. And of course, bring a Geiger counter if you can get a Geiger counter. That's another thing. Most people are probably not going to have access to something like a Geiger counter. So you kind of have to take a risk sometimes. So, yeah, I mean, cancer sucks. So, honestly, I when it comes to nuclear, it's hard to say. I mean, other than it's bad if it melts down and isn't shut down properly and stuff like that is pretty bad. Hydroelectric can get pretty bad too. Imagine if no one was maintaining the Hoover Dam, it would break. I mean, let's be honest. Eventually, it's gonna break because it's thousands and thousands of pounds, tons of water pushing on this concrete and metal, barrier. And the only thing that prevents it from breaking is the fact that we got people maintaining this thing. Without that, it's gonna break eventually. And the Colorado River will never be the same again, nor will any of the towns and cities and whatnot in the immediate vicinity. So I mean, if you're near somewhere like Hoover Dam or any other dam, probably a good idea to know, if you can know ahead of time, what like the nuclear thing, what the range of the devastation that would be caused in the case of a failure would be. But if you can't know, just either go figure out a way to maintain it yourself or get the hell out of there and get more inland or whatever. Generally speaking, in all circumstances, you want to get more inland. And then there's wind and solar, and wind will eventually probably deteriorate and break down, and the towers will fall and whatnot. So you have to take that into account and just kind of be careful when you're around them if you can't avoid them, kind of thing. Solar, I don't know if it can really do much damage outside of whoever was on that grid just loses power eventually. So I mean, there's that. You're not totally screwed. Outside of nobody's got power anymore. And then high are thermal. I don't really know if we have thermal anywhere. I don't even really know how it works. I mean, I don't really know how the other stuff works either, but I have a general idea. So you might be okay, or you might be totally screwed. Depends. Because if, like, thermal energy is regulation of, like, underground vents and volcanoes and all sorts of other stuff, and, like, they stop regulating it, it could lead to disaster. But I don't know for sure. So, yeah. Yeah, but one thing you can do if you want to provide your own source of energy is go back to, in a sense, the basics. Basics. Basic needs. Lol. And build a windmill. We've been doing it for centuries, if you really think about it. Build a windmill. Build a mill. A water mill. You will create power out of that. It'll take time. It'll take effort. probably going to want people to help you. I don't think that's something you're going to be able to do on your own. I think that's something that would be happening at a point where you have established yourself in with a community and a settlement or whatnot. Um, recycle, 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 of course. If you can figure out ways to retain power from old materials and use it, do it. I mean, one thing's for sure. When it comes to solar power, solar banks and stuff like that, use them, bring them, use them. You know, I've got a solar bank for my charger, for my phone and other devices. All I have to do is stick it out in the sun long enough, and it'll get a charge, and then I can charge things with it. So get something like that. Get it now, in fact. And honestly, it has practical uses even outside of, you know, potential post-apocalyptic scenarios and stuff. Like, if you're going out camping in general, and, you know, there's no wall plugs and stuff like that out in the middle of the woods. So, bring a power bank. Ideally, bring a solar-powered power bank. Because then, the power bank ain't gonna run out of power as quickly, because you got the sun powering it, which powers your devices. Now, of course, in a Wasteland scenario, you can't assume that you're going to have cell phone service, or phone service in general, or internet. So, you gotta have if you're gonna use your phone, it's mostly gonna be for the purpose of, like, videos, pictures, you know, keeping a log of your daily activities, in a sense. Just kind of generally what I'm going to try to do with this channel. Overseer's vlogs. But, yeah, I mean, phones are going to be very bare bones in terms of their purpose. And eventually you're probably going to end up going back to pen and paper. Or pencil paper. So, you know. But remember to log everything you do. Well, I mean, not necessarily everything. I'd still say pretty much everything. But especially significant things. Something significant happens to you, write it down, talk about it, do a video, whatever. That's what I'm planning on doing with this channel, just in the fictional sense. And honestly, if you're interested in doing something like this, do it. You know, like, just have fun and do something like what I'm trying to do with this channel. I mean, Warlord, my friend Warlord, has his Journals of the Fall, where he talks about his character before he became the Warlord, and his adventures and experiences after the fall of man. He's the original person that coined the fall of man. I've just kind of taken it. But, Overseer's Logs, in my case, is going to be like my character's story. I'm going to focus on significant events and stuff, not so much the daily life. Same as Warlord with Journals of the Fall. He focuses on events, not the everyday. So, you know. But in a real world scenario, you're probably going to do more of the everyday stuff. Or at least try to. I'm not expecting everybody to do every little detail of their day, or literally every day, all the time, but try to keep a log of your activities, if only so that future generations can know what you went through. Which brings me to books, which I've talked about before. Keep the books. For God's sakes, keep the books. I know they can be used as an emergency fire starter or whatever, but please try to keep the books. If you find a library or whatever, save as many books as you possibly can. because whether we want to admit it or not, I mean, well, yeah, whether we want to admit it or not, those things are what built civilization. And we're gonna need them again. The internet ain't there anymore. So, keep the books. Especially if it's books involve, you know, survivalist needs and stuff like that. Or how to, construct shelters and whatnot. Um, Engineering books, I guess, if you will. So hold on to stuff like that. Okay, according to Prophet, he's going to be around 20 to 30 more minutes. So, you got me, just me, little old me, for another 30 minutes. Alright. This might be a bit of a shorter show in general, and by the time Prophet joins, we might just talk about random things. Not necessarily topic-related things, since, let's be honest, I generally covered everything. But, I mean, I'll definitely want to hear what his opinions are, or what he thinks should be priority and whatnot once he joins. So, yep. Hmm. Well, I guess you could say it would be generally a good idea to be able to keep track of time. So, all you digital clock readers might be shit out of luck, but if you're analog, like myself, or you are even capable of reading a sundial, or the sun in general, then you're golden. So, yeah, I mean, you definitely want to be able to keep track of the weather as well, as best as you can. You have to know what kind of signs to look out for when it's going to be a storm or whatever. There's an old saying that the red sun at night, sailor's delight, which means that there will not be a storm that night because sailors would use the sunset and the sunrise to determine whether or not there was going to be a storm out on the sea. And if there's a red sun, where essentially in the dusk, the sun creates a red-like coloring of the sky, then generally that would mean that there was not going to be a storm the next day. However, if there was a red sun in the morning, then there would be a storm later that day. And the same concept. It's dawn, and the sun comes out, and the sky turns like a pinkish red or whatever from the light. Now, I don't know how much of that is true, but generally speaking, it seems to be a good rule of thumb. And then, of course, if you're like me, if you know your clouds and stuff, you can kind of figure out what's going to happen. You know the difference between cumulonimbus and stratus and all that other stuff. Kind of helps. Obviously, if the sky is clear, like super clear, then you're probably not going to have rain. And then this, I don't know if it's just me, but I've noticed that on days when it's going to rain, I will kind of smell it in the air. Sounds weird, I know. But there's like this scent that like the air gives off. That kind of that rain smell, if that makes any sense. And so whenever I smell that, I'm like, oh, it'll probably rain in like an hour or something like that, and it generally does. Um, so yeah, and then being able to keep track of how the wind is flowing and whatnot is good. Speaking of wind direction, get a compass. You want to know what direction you're going? North, south, east, west, that whole shebang. Because Merchant, or as some people call him, Lost and Found, once got himself lost and later found while at one of the Omega events. And we probably talked a little bit about this before. And he did have a compass, but it was a really crappy bubble, tiny, tiny bubble wrist compass that was basically illegible. So if you're gonna get a compass, get something you can actually use. And his radio, he had a radio, and his radio could only receive. It wouldn't send because he was too far out of everybody else's range, basically. And he wasn't using his compass. He also had an emergency whistle, which he used, but whenever he used it, some other jerk would just repeat theirs back. And it was like, you dumb. Stop it. We're not playing whistle tag. We're actually trying to find somebody. Um, but, But yeah, so he got lost. We found him, and therefore he was dubbed the name Lost and Found by our campsite. For a little while, he wasn't that much of a fan of it, but I think it grew on him, um, and I think he's basically decided that's generally what he's going to go by at these particular events, at the Omega events, which are a lot more survival oriented, a lot more basic needs oriented. First thing they have you do when you finally get to your campsite is, of course, establish your shelter. Then you have to go get water, and you're getting water from a stream or a pond or whatever that's out on the property, on the field. These fields tend to be like training fields for like military or very treacherous terrain, paintball and airsoft fields. So you gotta go and you gotta get water and you gotta filter and clean the water out, disinfect it, whatever, boil it, whatever. Now that's not super priority, especially since, well, it is super priority because that's really the only source of drink, beverage, whatever that you have is water. One of the requirements is they require you to bring with you ahead of time 3 liters of water. Um, and you might not even drink it all, to be completely honest. Um, but you know, you might use some of it to like if you've got a toothbrush and toothpaste or something, you could use it to brush your teeth and keep some basic hygiene. Use it to wash your hands, that kind of thing. Um, and obviously to drink, you can drink the water that you bring because that's already clean and drinkable. And then of course you can bring the water that you gather and you cleaned and you made it drinkable. And normally, since you're a part of a community with a bunch of people, you all get together and you all get, you know, basically a big bin of water one or some sort of water storage set up that's the community water, or you can set one up at your own spot and kind of do your own thing and whatnot. And of course, shelter. I've seen guys literally just set up a hammock if the weather's good. Seen them literally just sleep on the ground in their sleeping bag if the weather's good. Most people will bring a tent of some sort. Some guys do tarps, like I've said before, hijack, even merchants done that, or lost and found, if you will, in this case. So, I generally bring a tent, but I have made do in the past, using structures and whatnot. Um, but, yeah, so, food, obviously, events like this, food is going to be something that you're not necessarily gonna hunt and gather, but instead, you're going to be doing things for people to get food that they've provided, or they, or of course you bring your own food, which is a requirement of it itself. You bring a gallon bag with as much food as you can put in it to last you the days that you're gonna be there. And like I said before, with the water, you might not even need it all. And then the event guys are kind enough to also do like chili on Saturday evenings for everybody. They like hold a truce between all the camps and stuff, and they all have chili. So that's really cool. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's fun stuff. I definitely suggest checking it out if you're interested. The Omega guys do this stuff. Mostly East Coast, but they do some stuff in, I think one of their events was in Oklahoma. But COVID's kind of messing with all their plans, even though they have a they have a limit to how many players they have. It's still, they're based in New York, so their rules kind of are a little bit more strict on what they can do. Because of quarantine periods and all that stuff. But I definitely suggest checking it out whenever they're around. I might throw some info out in the description later on them. And then of course I suggest checking out Balhack Airsoft's Revelations and Fertile Crescent events. And we are at the hour mark. Hell yeah. So it shouldn't be too much longer before I get a friend in here and we can talk. Mad shit. Alright. Alright. But, yeah. So, if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. But otherwise, I'm just wasting your time. Till Prophet gets here and we can talk some more. Sorry about that. I guess I'll update you on a couple other things in terms of what I plan to do with the channel. So, one of the things I want to do with the channel, other than obviously more Follow Man Radio, well, actually, let's go to specifically talk about Follow Man Radio. One of the plans I have for Follow Man Radio after we get through the rest of the topics, which honestly, this might be the end of it, depending on how much we get covered today, or tonight. The end of the prepper style topics. After this, or after the next couple of topics, we might do the energy stuff again, whatnot. I want to start talking about Wasteland in media. Talk about video games, movies, television shows, books, that kind of thing. And the different types of wastelands there are, and like the genre and stuff like that. So we're gonna be branching off from a prepper style topics and going into more of a genre study ish type topic. Although before that, I do want to do I guess you could say, and I brought it up in a previous episode, a kind of a political analysis of the Wasteland, um, where I basically discuss how factions and stuff like that happen and what kinds of ideologies crop up and whatnot in a Wasteland scenario. And since I've got the personal experience from these events that I've been to, I can probably write something up for that, and maybe that'll be a radio episode, or maybe I'll just make a separate video. Depends, because I do want to hear what the other guys think if they're interested in the topic, but that's more my brainchild than anything else, because I have an interest in politics generally speaking. But I try to stay away from that as much as I can here, just because this is a break from reality, if anything. But, yeah, so I do definitely want to start talking about games and books and stuff like that. So we'll probably talk about, you know, Wasteland 3 in the context of, you know, how does it fit in the genre? What's different? What makes it different from other games in the genre or whatever, like Fallout or Stalker. And even Stalker isn't necessarily Wasteland because it's like a near future kind of dystopia thing, but the zone is very Wasteland like. So I'd love to be able to talk about that, and of course talk about stuff like Mad Max, and not just in the context of, ooh, we make cool Mad Max armors and, outfits and vehicles and all that stuff. I mean it in the sense of, like, what kind of wasteland is the Mad Max wasteland compared to the road or to Walking Dead or whatever? And does Walking Dead technically fit in the wasteland category? Because even though it's a zombie, thing, is zombie a wasteland thing? That kind of stuff. So, I think that might be a little bit more entertaining than the prepper stuff for some people. Because the prepper stuff was very niche compared to that. And then eventually I'm going to go into like skits. Well, not necessarily skits, but like live entertainment shows where me and my friends get dressed up in our Wasteland outfits and we actually go live on camera and we goof off and interact with the audience and have fun with you guys and do crazy stuff and, tell our crazy stories and make fun of each other and all that sort of nonsense. Might even, if things go well enough, might even do like a 18 plus stream or something like that on members only or whatnot. Who knows? The channel is not set up for kids to view anyways, so I might just be able to do it right off the bat, but we'll see. So yeah, that'll be exciting because we get into some crazy, crazy shit when we, like, just start role playing, basically. And I'd love to make that a live experience for everybody. I just want to get to a point where I'm not worried about people in my house, and I'm not worried about, whatever my background looks like. I just want to make it look nice. I don't want to make it look, I want to make it worth your while. So that will come later, but it will come eventually. I promise you that. Assuming This is all assuming I'm at all successful with this channel, but you know, I appreciate all the subscribers I already have, um, and I love that you still check out my stuff whenever you can. Of course, some of you are some of my friends that have been on the show, but you know what I mean. Um, yeah, so please leave a like, subscribe, that kind of thing. You know, I hate the shill, but you gotta shill to make it on this website. Oh, by the way, I do have a mirror over on BitChute. I don't know if any of my channels are actually mirrored over, or my videos, sorry, have actually mirrored over yet. So I might have to do some manual uploads there. But if you're interested, you can go on there. It's an alt tech site. If you don't like YouTube, there's BitChute. Um, I'm on Twitch, obviously. I'm streaming on Twitch right now, and I'm streaming on YouTube. So those are your options too. And then I probably will open up my Instagram eventually. Right now it's private. And it's all kind of amongst friends, but if I can figure out a better way to use it, maybe for the crafting type stuff, then I'll definitely do that. And then Twitter is mostly girls frontline stuff, let's be honest. But I will post, you know, when I'm putting out a video or when I'm putting out a stream or whatever on there. That's probably going to be the main place that I do that, because Instagram doesn't let you just post a link or a video. They're like, no, you have to post a picture or whatever with it. And Facebook, I've got a couple pages, but I'm kind of reluctant to use them. So, and that's mostly because I don't like Facebook. But I might do it anyways eventually. I don't know. So I'm gonna generally be on most of the mainstream platforms, with a few exceptions. Um, and those are more just for mirrored information. Uh, so you can find me at those places. I think I have some of them linked on my channel page on the main banner. So check those out. That banner is eventually going to be changing too. I'm planning on getting with somebody that can make a nice banner for me. And I've got a friend who might be able to make a better standby song in the background. I do like the one I've been using, but I'd love to keep it, you know, with amongst friends. I think that would be cool, and I'd be able to advertise my friends' recording studio essentially. So that would be fun. But yeah, so that's generally some updates. Obviously, I'm playing games still. Tomorrow I'm debating on whether or not to do Dying Light. Which I'm not going to be starting from the beginning. I'm just going to be starting from wherever I was, so sorry about that. Or doing a stream of my newest session with the merchant of playing Wasteland 3, because I do need to do another session with him to get some more videos from it. But that's going to be entirely up to him and his availability, to be completely honest. I hope y'all have been enjoying that and our banter and stuff like that, because I figured it would be nice to be able to play with somebody and have like that dynamic as opposed to just me. Especially since I'm kind of new to this stuff and I'm more comfortable talking with a friend and whatnot. That's why these shows and that series tends to seem better, in my opinion. Although I've noticed that the Project Wingman stuff seems to be going pretty well, and I actually need to do some more recording of that as well. So look forward to that. There is some stuff that's still coming out. Dustwind came out today. I have a little disclaimer at the beginning saying that it basically, the video ends with me dying, so spoilers. I hope you watched it still. But, the next video is gonna be me living and actually succeeding for once, because it's an interesting game, gameplay-wise. I gotta remember most of it's automated. And it's my instinct to, like, like manually do things, but that game's kind of set up so that you don't have to manually do things. So it's a little weird to get used to, but I'll get the hang of it eventually, and y'all can join me on the adventure. Um, oh, and I said it in that video at the beginning, but I'll say it here. So Dustwind, I might have mentioned before, Warlord is who recommended me that game. And he had told me that he knew somebody, or knew of somebody, that worked on the armor design and stuff for the game. Well, it turns out, because I completely forgot, that person is Nuclear Snail Studios, who has a YouTube channel of his own. I think he's German, if I remember correctly. But he is the go-to guy to learn about how to make Wasteland gear and stuff like that. And Warlord's learned a lot from him. I've been learning a lot from him, and I've been learning a lot from Warlord and just figuring it out myself, of course. So definitely recommend them if you're interested. But yeah, I thought that was pretty cool that he helped them design all the armors and stuff for the game. And yeah, but what else is there? What else is there? Well, of course, there's the Overseer's logs, which I promise will come out. I'll probably even do like a preview or something on my social media once I have something together. I'm just not very confident in my writing abilities right now. So I'm like, I don't know if I should put this out kind of thing, because I've got a few recordings that I could probably just throw out there. And some scripts and whatnot. I'm just very nervous, I guess. And I'm trying to kind of build up an audience first. I don't know. But then there's a part of me that's like, well, the audience is gonna come with the original content, so whatever. But yeah, so sorry if this whole show just started going into discussion of random things and updates on channel. But it is what it is, I guess. We've made it about an hour and 16 minutes though. So, hey, I can make it last. I can talk a storm, if you will. Um, but yeah, so I don't want there to be dead air. Hold on 1 second. Hmm. Oh yeah, another thing is that eventually I'd love to be able to grab some people from outside of just my immediate friend group and try to have some uh other YouTubers in the same sphere, or like other people I know on social media and whatnot come on, and we talk about stuff like Wasteland stuff or play games together or whatever. Um so we'll see. We will see. Oh, no, never mind. Well, yeah, I might as well say it. So I do have the Mad Max game now, which I do plan on playing eventually, but I want to try to finish at least one of the other games that I've been playing. Probably end up being Project Wingman before anything else. Um, so yeah, look forward to that. I just can't really tell you how long it's gonna be because I have no idea how long that's gonna take. Um, but hey, it'll be fun. And I'll get cool ideas for new gear and whatnot. Same with all the other games I've been playing. So, 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 so. Hmm. Hmm. What to do? What to do? Part of me is tempted to boot up a game right now and just play some stuff with y'all. Um, I might split up the show. So, I'm thinking I might wait for at least one person to be available, and then I'll start another stream. Um, but we'll see. Let's see. I really, I just don't want to bore y'all. I might already have done that, let's be honest, but like, I don't like having dead air. We're about an hour and 20 minutes, about. And I've kind of run out of stuff to talk about, to be completely honest. Um, damn. Yep, for now, I'm gonna throw things in standby mode. Please be patient. Uh, I will have Prophet on, and maybe at least one other, maybe dead one, if I can get him to join. And we will get their opinion on the topic and some of the other stuff as well. So, in the meantime, I hope you enjoyed your stay. Please leave a like, subscribe, hit the bell for the notifications, all that stuff. You know how it works on YouTube. And I'll talk to you in a little bit, Wastelanders. Good luck out there.